everyone, and welcome to today's on-demand recording for paraprofessionals. Today we are going to be looking at a few things. One, we'll be looking at how to access student learning plans with their resources. Two, we will be learning how to access principal data sheets and also our Rethink EDU app for data collection. And three, and finally, we are going to look at data entry, how to enter that data into Rethink later on, especially if you're using hard copy data sheets, and we got to get that into the system so that it could get graphed. So we are going to look at all three of those areas today. So let's go ahead and get started here. You're going to log into your Rethink account, and what you're going to do is go into the My Students folder. And in here, you should see all of the students that you are linked to, that your teacher has linked you to. And for today's example, we're just going to click into one of our students, and you're going to want to do the same thing. So today, we're going to use our student here. Once you click into that individual student's name, you will see at the top a few different tabs here. And all we want to do is come in here and access the learning plan. And so once you're in here in the learning plan, you'll see all of the goals down on the left-hand side that your teacher has come in here and added and customized for that particular student's individual plan. So as you scroll through and click into each one, so looking at staying on task right now, when I click on Staying on Task, it will open it up here in the right-hand side. So this is what I would recommend, paras, for you guys to come in here and familiarize yourself with the student goals, familiarize with yourself with how the teacher has set that up. So you're going to be able to read that goal. You're going to be able to understand what type of data collection method or type that teacher chose. So for this one, we're looking at opportunity-based data with prompting. You'll also be able to see the mastery criteria, and then down below exactly what we're targeting. Exactly when are we going to be teaching this? What are we targeting? So we want the student to be able to stay on task. Staying on task is our goal here, and we're going to be targeting specifically independent work, small group, and whole group. Is the student able to stay on task across those three targeted areas? So you'll be able to understand a little bit more about what's going on with the goal, but also you'll see here at the top links to where you're going to be able to print materials for that particular goal. So you can open these up, download them, and print them. And there are different ones in here for different students based on their needs. You can also come in here and add lesson notes, typing in a specific note about what's going on with that lesson or that goal. So you can type your text in here and then also communicate, is this a normal or a priority note? And so it helps all of us, paras, teachers, related service providers, principals, etc., all of this information, being able to record that for each of the goals or each of the lessons for our students. So that's a function and a feature here that you can hit save with as well. And then again, as you come through and you look at different goals, so here's one, using a variety of statements to make requests. This is a communication goal. And again, I can come up here, view all of the information for the goal, the data settings. So I know this is a task analysis data setting, a little different from the previous ones we've looked at. And then also, again, what are we targeting? What are we teaching? So specifically, we're looking at for this goal. And then always, you're going to be able to view those materials, add lesson notes, and then sometimes you will also have a little video that's associated with each one of these lessons in here. So parents, these videos are really good to come in here and self-learn a little bit more about what's going on with that particular lesson. These videos are meant for educators, so that you can get a nice video model, a little snapshot of, hey, this is some things to consider, some strategies to consider when programming and implementing this particular lesson with that particular student. And so come in here and check those out. They're just very short, few minutes in length, something that you can watch before you actually teach that lesson or something that you watch at the beginning of your day because you know that you're going to be working on that lesson with that child either that day or at least at some point that week. So lots of materials, lots of ways to get to know exactly what is a part of each student's learning plan here. And then if you want to, you can always come up here and print your lessons all at once for a quick and easy Rethink trick here. If you hit print lessons, it will open up where you can select which lessons that you would like to print. You can select up to 10 at a time. There's that staying on task one. And then you can also tell the system what exactly you want to print, your lesson plans, your materials. Maybe we have some PowerPoint slides to go with that. Any of your lesson updates or notes. So a lot of that stuff that you wrote into those lesson notes sections, if you want to get updates on that and print that sheet off, you can do that here as well. And then hit print. If you want a list of all of the IEP goals only, you can select IEP only and hit print again as well, and it will print off the entire learning plan for you for that student all in one full suite. So come in here, check that out. Again, that's at the top right-hand corner of your screen, print lessons, and always you will see your user guides and how-to guides. If you have any questions about how to use certain buttons in Rethink, these user guides are your best friend. All right, so what we're going to do is now we're going to move over into data collection. So we've taken care of our first agenda item on our on-demand webinar series here, where we've looked at and accessed student plans and the resources that go along with those students' plans, also being able to research exactly what we're targeting here. But now we want to go into our second part of our on-demand series right now, which is data collection. And so where do you go for that? You're just simply going to move over up at the top to the tab called Data Express. And again, we're still in our student's plan here, just particularly for this one student. So when you go into the Data Express tab, first thing that you need to do is familiarize yourself with how to get data sheets. So if your teacher asks you to print off some data sheets or you need another data sheet for a particular student, you can easily come in here and access that on your own, where you would go into Data Express, then come over here on the right-hand side and hit Create Data Sheet. So this is where you can start to customize those hard copy printable data sheets to exactly your liking. So you can come in here and put Select All, where you might put all of your goals on one data sheet, or you can simply select exactly which ones that you want to put on your data sheet and check off only those particular goals. So let's come in here and just select a few. There's that staying on task goal. So I've selected a few goals, 5 total, as you can see here. And then it's going to ask me how many data collection panels would you like for each skill or behavior. So how many panels would you like underneath each one? So if I'm going to maybe take data on this twice a week, each one twice a week, I think I'm going to put 2 panels underneath each and hit Create. And then it will download that customized data sheet for you, and this is what it's going to look like. All right, so here's that same goal that we were looking at previously, completing tasks. You'll see that at the top. It'll tell you what data collection method this is. So this is opportunity-based, which is just plus or minus. Did the kid get it right or did the kid get it wrong? And then your different objectives and your targets, as well as your mastery criteria. And then you'll have your 2 different data panels underneath, where you can simply come in here and type in what your date is and then your target area. So remember earlier we were talking about independent work, small group, whole group. I could come in here and type in what I want my target to be and then slowly be able to take that data. Plus if the kid completed that task, or minus if they did not. Here's staying on task as well, and look at this one. There's another goal, but this one looks a little bit different. This is opportunity-based with prompts now. So now we have it with prompts. So here's our goal, And now we want to see, did the student stay on task? So first we want to know if they're completing the task, and then we want to know also if they're staying on task. Like, are we constantly having to prompt the student to maintain their attention? And so again, we were looking at this at independent work, small group, whole group. This is across our different targets here. But because my teacher chose with prompting as my data method, you will see that down here in your data collection panel. It's going to look different based on the data collection method that your teacher specifically chose for that particular goal. So for this one, opportunity-based with prompts, again, did my student, I could put my target here, so we might be working on this in small group, and I'll put my date, let's say 11/20 maybe. And then I'm going to just simply check off which prompts I had to give the student throughout that given time period. So in small group, I had to provide a verbal prompt paired with a gesture to a visual. I also at one point just referenced the visual on the desk, so I marked that off. And then if the student was able to stay on task independently and didn't need any of my prompting or my reminders, then I can mark as an independent, that student stayed on task independently. And so as you scroll down and you start looking at the different data sheets that you've been able to customize, again, your data collection methods and your data entry panels that you'll see on these customized data sheets are going to look different based on the data collection method that your teacher chose. For another example, you'll see this goal, introducing yourself. The data collection method for this one is just frequency data. So it looks a little bit different than the previous two examples that we just looked at. And again, I can familiarize myself with the goals and the objectives here, as well as the targets and the mastery criteria. And so depending on whether you're in baseline data, it will tell you baseline data, versus at the previous example, we know we were in our teaching data because we actually have different teaching targets. It doesn't say baseline here, so I know that we are in teaching data. We're specifically teaching towards these target areas, versus the goal down here. Currently, we are in baseline data. We're just taking some baseline. So a lot of this will give you all of that information at the top, and then again, your data entry panel at the bottom. So for frequency data collection, you'll put your date. You'll put your target. If this is baseline, we can write that in, obviously, or what your target area is, we can write that in. How many times did you observe the behavior? Well, since this is just frequency, this is a simply tally mark as we see the student and observe the student being able to introduce themselves. And then you're going to be able to say what was the total number of hours that you observed that child. Well, if I was with that student for 30 minutes, I could put down 30 minutes, versus if I was with that student for the entire school day, I might come in here and put the entire total time. So I might have been with that student for a 6-hour school day, and I'll put in the 6 hours in that field here. You can also write your notes as well. Here's a different method. Another one, your next goal, using a variety of statements to make requests. So again, all this information with the goal is at the top right here. Your data collection method for this one is task analysis. We haven't looked at this one yet. Again, you can look at your goal, look at your different steps as a part of that task analysis. This is what we're going to be specifically measuring and specifically targeting. Our mastery criteria. And then down below, you will see your data collection entry. So again, we're targeting refrains from maladaptive behavior or refrains from noncompliance behavior. We want to see the student make a variety of pro-social requests. And we want to track all of this as a part of his being able to use a variety of statements to make requests or communication instead of his noncompliant behavior. So we are going to specifically track each one of these areas here. So for this task analysis data collection method, here are the 3 areas that we're targeting at the top, and we're just simply going to put a plus if the kids got it correct for this one. Did the student refrain from the maladaptive behavior, yes or no? Did the student make requests using a variety of pro-social behaviors or statements, yes or no? And did the student accept the answer from the adult, yes or no? So you're just going to plug in either correct, mark off it was correct, or if it was incorrect or there was no response from the student. So again, make sure to always go through and start looking at your goals, your students' goals in the learning plan. Familiarize yourself with those goals, because when you get to printing off a hard copy data sheet, this will not be of any surprise to you. You know that there was different data methods that were chosen for each goal, and they were set up differently. So for our last example, for identifying numbers as another example, we had data collection as opportunity-based with prompts, and specifically, we are working on numbers 1 through 10 this school year, but look here in the target section, I'm only currently working on numbers 1 and 2. Only 1 and 2. Those are my target areas. And so when I come down here, my targets, again, are 1 and 2, and I can put my date of when we started this. And here I have my mastery criteria is a minimum of 3 trials. So I have to do at least 1, 2, 3 trials. These are your trial counts right here at the top. And then I'm going to mark what prompt level I gave that student. So if I presented number 1, I had to give a verbal and a gesture. I'm going to mark off verbal and gesture. For the second trial, I might have presented number 1 again, and that student got it independently, so I'm going to mark off independent. And then minimally, my third trial here, maybe this time I presented number 2 as my target, and I had to provide a gesture prompt for that. And I'm going to record that here. So now let's move over. We're going to take away this hard copy data sheet. So you'll print that off, record that data, but eventually we will need to add this data into the Rethink system so that the system will automatically graph it for us. That's the beautiful part about this technology. But we got to take this hard copy data and put that in. So how do we come in here and do that? So again, we're still in the Data Express tab. How we created that data sheet was right here. But now we've got to sit down and enter that data into the system. And so what you're going to do is you're going to pull up only the goals that you need to do data entry on over here on the left-hand side. So all of your goals will be on the left, and as you scroll down, you'll see all of your goals that you might want to choose. So here's staying on task. Notice that when it's not highlighted blue, it does not exist over here on the right-hand side. But when you click it and it highlights blue, you will see it open up your data panel over on the right. So I'm going to focus, again, just on those goals that we looked at in our example. Staying on task, introducing yourself, making a variety of statements to make requests, identifying numbers. Let's look at what they look like for data entry. So for example, staying on task, your goal will be here. Here's your data collection type as it looks exactly like on your hard copy data sheet. But here we just want to make sure that we have our correct targets selected here. So you'll either see baseline or you will see the actual teaching targets that your teacher has set up here. Right now I know I'm in teaching data because I'm selected these targets here. And down below you will see those corresponding targets. So here's independent work, small group, and whole group. So I'm just simply going to take that data sheet, here it is, and I'm going to record the prompt level that I've provided for that particular opportunity for that student to stay on task. And so what I'm going to do is come back here and say, here's independent work. For independent work on 11/20, I had to give that student a GV. I'm going to add my notes and hit save. Also on 11/20, during small group, I might have had to give that student a verbal prompt here. So I'm going to record the V, add my notes, and hit save. And then same thing, whole group. If the student stayed on task independently in whole group, I can also select the I, add notes, and hit save. So just taking your data sheet and simply recording and entering in here onto the Rethink data panel. So let's look at another example. As I scroll down, here's your another one, introducing self. Remember, this one was the data collection type of frequency, as you can see here. So again, here's your date. I want to say pretend this was on November 13th. And look, this one looks a little different. You are now recording data for, and for right now, we're just still on baseline. We're eventually going to start working on having the student introduce themselves in circle time, but for right now, we just want to take baseline and see currently what the student's present level of performance might be. So I could put my date and then say, how many times did you observe this behavior? So you'll just take your hard copy data sheet again. Let's scroll down and look at that one. This is what your frequency data looks like. So you've been making your tallies here. And it's going to ask you, how many times did you observe this behavior? Well, I might have seen her introduce herself twice. How long did you observe the child? I was with that student for 30 minutes, let's say. Add my notes and hit save. To move it from baseline to your first teaching step, you're just simply going to open up this panel here and then activate that first target. So if the teacher says, we're ready now to be moving from baseline, we want to move into our first target, you can come in here and select circle time or whatever that first target is and select yes. And now you'll see I've moved from baseline. I'm now recording data specifically targeting the area of circle time. So again, here's my date. How many times did I observe the behavior introduce themselves in circle time when they were provided that opportunity? Let's say for 2 times. How long did I observe the child for? 30 minutes, let's say. Add my notes and hit save. All right, let's go down for this next example. So this next one, again, a different data collection method. I'm going to be able to tell exactly what's going on with this goal at the very top. So for my goal of using a variety of statements to make requests, my goal at the top of my data collection method here is task analysis. So a little bit different than some of our other examples. So your date always is here. And then, of course, what you're recording data for. So we have moved past baseline. You don't see baseline in here anymore. And we've now activated our first teaching steps that we want to target and record data for. So I select that. And when I open that up, it brings up my task steps here. So did the student refrain from maladaptive behavior? Did they refrain from using their non-compliant behavior? Well, no, they ended up still telling me no and cursing me out, so I'm still going to say that they did that. The next step was, though, did the student make requests using a variety of pro-social statements instead? So we want to see the kid use this replacement skills of being able to bargain or trade or ask for a break instead of flat out telling a teacher no. So were we able to sort of negotiate, basically, with that student, and did that student actually use those pro-social skills and replacement skills of negotiating? And so if we had to prompt him to do that, did they do that, yes or no? And then finally, did the student accept the adult answer? So yes or no. And again, this is all going to be based on the criteria that your teacher puts in these step areas. So we'll tally that up. It's going to automatically do your percentage for you over here, so don't worry about that. You'll just add any of your notes that you need to and hit save. And then finally, our last example here is that identifying numbers goal. So same thing, your goal at the top, your data collection method for this one was opportunity-based with prompts. And now we are recording data specifically only on numbers 1 and 2. Those are the only teaching targets or the only numbers that we're going to actually be working on with this kid. The whole goal, the annual goal, the whole goal is numbers 1 through 10. But for right now, we just have to start getting this student to understand number 1 and number 2. So we're only selecting these targets based on what the teacher has activated for the student. And so, again, you'll see your target. Here's 1. Here's number 2. And then as you present your trials and or your teaching, recording the prompt level that you provided that student. So I know right now that GP is this present level of prompting that I should be giving that student because it is in green. These are in red because we have now already moved past these. We've been successful with these prompting. We're starting to fade prompt towards gesture prompt and then eventually fade prompt towards independence. So you should be starting out with this prompt, but it doesn't mean that if you had to provide a physical prompt, maybe the kid was having a rough day and you had to drop down your prompting and record that, you can still record your PP or your VG as well as their independence. So this will allow you to record the prompt level that you provided. Add your notes and hit save. All right, I'm going to scroll back up to the top. The other cool thing about data entry in here, so you guys have seen a few different examples with a few different data collection methods for data entry. There's one more cool trick that you can add to your data panels. So phase change lines. So if the student was absent or sick, was out on vacation, or maybe we wanted to denote when spring break was, or if there was a medication change. Any of these things are different environmental events that might have an effect on student progress, and we wanted to note what that looks like on a graph. So there's a really cool way that we can come here and do that. You can either do it to each individual goal. So here's using a variety of statements to make requests. There's this little button called phase change, and that's just per goal. So each one, as you scroll up, here's introducing yourself. So each one has their own phase change button. But you can also add phase change lines to multiple graphs at one time. So I want to show you guys that quick feature, where you'll come up here, hit Action, hit Add Phase Change. And then it's going to say, to which lessons or behaviors does this phase change apply? Well, you can say, well, this is applying to all of the goals, or select just a few of the goals that you want to add this particular phase change line to. So it can be any of these. So let's do these three. And then define the phase change line. So I'm going to come in here and say the student, let's say, was absent. Or if you hit other, you can type in what that other might be. So some teachers put in if the student had out-of-school suspension or in-school suspension. That's another environmental factor that's going on in the student's world. So you really can define in this little filter here by selecting other and then typing in exactly what you want. Then you're going to put the date that the phase change occurred. So let's just pretend this one was on the 20th, and then hit create. And what it will do is apply that particular phase change line to each one of your graphs. So let's look at this example, staying on task. If I hit view data, I'm going to be able to view all of that data and that information. And here's some phase change lines that I've already added in on my goal. So your teachers might ask you to come in here and look at some of this data. You'll be able to do that and look at that graph and see how well that student's doing. All right, you guys, the user guides, another little quick rethink tip. Your user guides for everything data is here in the right-hand corner of your screen. So I really would like you guys to check out all of these pieces on how to use Data Express is a good one. Our app. So if you are not a hard copy data sheet person and you are going to take data and have it sync and graph it for you right away, you're an app person. So here's a lots of how-to guides for our app. And the app is called Rethink EDU. You can download it on Android or any iOS or Apple product. You also can, recently, this just launched, get it on Kindle, any Kindle device as well. You can download that app. It's free, and you do not have to be connected to the internet the whole time to take data. So you can take data with and without the internet. So truly no barriers in being able to take all the data that you need to take. All right, you guys, I'm going to come back up to our main landing page here and leave you with a few last pieces. We were just here in the My Students folder, but now I want to jump into the My Resources folder, specifically the How-To Videos and Guides tab. Why do I want to point out this? Well, it gives you all how-to videos that you can come in here and check out. So specifically, I want to scroll down to the one that says Data App and point out that we have how-to videos on exactly how to use that app. So if you're going to use the app and that's going to be your data method of choice, then come in here and watch those videos and let us know if you need help. If you need help with that app at any time, please contact your help desk at the very top right-hand corner of your screen up here where I'm hovering, right next to where your profile area is. So you can come in there and check that out. Also in the main landing page, the last thing for some more supplemental materials around data collection that I will leave you with are here in the My Training folder. So you can come in here, go to the Applied Behavior Analysis series, and in the basic training, if you are wanting to start there, the one specific to data is called Record Results. And you can come in here and print some guided notes, watch a 10-minute video, take a test, and here's a practice activity. Also, there is an entire module in our advanced training series. So here's the advanced one. If you scroll down, there's an entire one also called data collection as well. And so you can get a certificate for that one, turn it in for professional development or continuing education credits. Also, put it as part of your portfolio or part of your resume. Of course, continuing your professional development and easy on-demand learning with the Rethink modules. So those two I recommend as far as supplemental material for data collection, learning a little bit more about that in combination with our recorded webinar you're watching today. All right, you guys, thank you so much. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to your help desk and also join our office hours so that you can get those specific questions about data answered. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed today's on-demand recorded webinar. Take care.